Arms are one of the most desirable things a man could ask for. When you're wearing a t-shirt, those are the only things that are exposed. And when you're taking photos, it's the only form of masculinity you have. Over the past 2 years, I was able to grow my arms by 5 inches naturally. And I'm really proud of the progress I made. My arms used to be one of my physique's weak points, and now I'd say they're probably one of my strong points. So, I'll be showing you how you can grow some thick, gooning arms. The arms are a very simple muscle group to train. The arms consist of the tricep, bicep, and forearm. Before we dive into any exercises, I want to address some mistakes I made in the past. Back then, I thought that in order to grow a lagged muscle group, I would have to spam it with a shit ton of volume. While increasing volume can be a solution, you shouldn't overload it with too much volume. I remember I used to do 4 exercises for my biceps alone, all being 4 sets each, and I would also train my arms twice a week. So in total, I would be doing 32 sets of bicep training alone in just a week. And every day my arms would still be sore from the last arm day, and recovery was nowhere to be seen. So if you want to improve your arms, you need to stop focusing on volume and start focusing on frequency. When you increase the volume, you're fatiguing your arms even more and it'll slow down recovery. Instead, I would keep the session volume the same, but add another day in the week. So, let's say you originally did 8 sets of biceps per week, 4 per session, and instead of adding more sets on those days, you would add another day in between. This way, recovery would be much more faster as your muscles can recover way faster from 4 sets than 8 sets. Many people don't actually know how many sets they should be doing for each part of the arm, but the arms actually recover relatively quickly considering they're a very small muscle group. This means you can get away with hitting them super frequently. So if I were to focus on a part of the arm, 90% of the time I would dedicate most of my arm training to my triceps. After all, the triceps do take up 2/3 of your arm, so it's without a doubt the most important muscle in the arm. Dedicating most of my volume to my triceps has shown significant progress, and I think my triceps are probably one of my best muscle groups. The triceps are usually hit without even being noticed during compound lifts like the bench press and overhead press. The triceps also carry loads of strength towards your pushing movements. With the triceps, I like to overload them with a lot of heavy weight, even if I was doing isolation work. If I was doing pushdowns or extensions on a cable, I would really only do sets of 6 to 8, all to failure. To increase tricep strength, I would focus on heavy close grip bench and a straight bar pushdown. Obviously, I didn't do low reps for all of my arm training. Each arm day, I would choose 2 exercises. One of those exercises would be a moderate to high rep range, and the other one would be low reps. With this idea in mind, I would go heavy for an exercise to build up my strength, and another exercise to focus on that mind-muscle connection. For example, when I train my triceps, I would usually start off with heavy sets of JM press, and follow that up with some tricep kickbacks with a relatively light weight that I can control pretty well. When we think about the arms, we never really give enough appreciation for our forearms. Even though they may be very boring to train, they're still really important. They can significantly improve your grip strength and they'll give your arms a more overall proportional look. When I train my forearms, I train them through 3 different things. Isometric holds to improve my grip, and this will work all the muscle fibers. Isometric holds are crucial for improving your grip strength, and this will also target all the fibers in the forearm. And then I would train the wrist flexors through wrist curls and the extensors with reverse curls. The brachioradialis is the beefy part of the forearm, but it gets hit indirectly through bicep training. And finally, to improve your bicep training, there's one thing I would like to follow. When I train with free weights, I tend to cheat a lot. Biceps are the only muscle that I train without optimal form. The biceps are a very stubborn muscle group, and overloading can take weeks. Unlike cables, free weights have a different resistance profile. In the stretch position, there's almost no tension since gravity is pulling the weight down. So in order to maximize the biceps tension, the contraction is actually the most important part. But training to failure with dumbbells is tricky using perfect form, which is why the cheat curl exists. However, if you have access to cables or machines, always choose them over free weights. When training with machines or cables, the most tension is always in the stretch part of the position. Since the stretch position is the most important part of the movement, cables will always be favored. So, how did I combine all those things together? I would train my arms 3 to 4 times a week. Now, this may seem like excessive training frequency, but every arm session I would only give my arms 2 sets for each muscle group, and all of them would be to failure. This way, my arms would recover quickly. So, on one day, I would choose 1 bicep, 1 tricep, and 1 forearm exercise. So every week, each muscle would only get 6 to 8 sets of volume per week. However, these numbers are only from isolation work alone. So if you included compound exercises, it would be a much different story. But anyways, I think that's enough to wrap up this video. So if you have any other tips, please leave them in the comments below. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.